How are you? Edgar Fernandez from Situation Limited, located from Brantford, Ontario. How are you, everybody? Hope everything is going well this Tuesday. It's October 31st, so this evening is gonna be Halloween for the kids. Gonna have a lot of fun um, uh, going on the streets, knocking door by door, and ask for a trick or treat. So only be careful. There are candies that your kids can be allergic to of such candy. So be careful what they eat, what they get. So check it out first, and then after they can enjoy it. So a topic of today actually it's that I want to talk about briefly because it's very extensive, but it's worthy to talk, especially for the small businesses. It's the how to create your safety program from the scratches. I know new companies such as small construction companies that provide residential services. They have 5 or 10 employees or two, some of them. Still, they need a safety program for small businesses. That mean they are not exempt of not having being in compliance with the safety regulations. Other small businesses such as restaurants or small manufacturing companies, right? They have, like for example, breweries. Right now nowadays it's very common that young people, young entrepreneurs, they start um, uh, making beer, and it's they call it the small breweries. So these type of business still they need to have they need to be in compliance with the safety regulations, depending where you are located. Especially here in Canada, depending on the province that you are located, you need to be in compliance. So how you gonna create that? How you gonna be in compliance? So this is the a small sketch that I designed go from zero to in year. I mean, in 2-3 years, go to the top. This is not happening overnight, unfortunately. And something that I want to make sure it's don't look for the short term. Short term is getting compliance, gonna get core here in Canada, and especially in the province of Ontario or Alberta or British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and then everything is gonna be okay, everything is perfect, we are in compliance. It really is not the truth. As any small business, you know, smart entrepreneurs or smart owners, business owners, they look for the long term, not for the short term. So saying being in compliance, that's for the short term, but also you need to look for the long term. That is gonna make you successful. And you guys, from small entrepreneurs, small business owners, you know that very well. People who has started creating their own business, they know that the long term is better than the short term. That's a fact. And successful people uh, that they are starting their own business, they know that for sure. So the first thing that they need to do to start from the scratches and actually create something here is you need to start creating your inventory of safety aspects. So what is a safety aspect? Actually, this terminology comes from the ISO 18001. You go from the environmentalist from the ISO 14001. So you need to start combining some concepts from different standards and regulations. So the safety aspect is your activities that you develop, that you perform. For example, I would say you are in a small brewery, so it's lowering your tanks. Second is how I'm moving your finished goods from the packaging area to the warehouse. The second is maintenance. The fourth is how you waste disposal. So those are the examples of of safety aspects. For the small construction companies that they do residential repairs, so it's like you're gonna conduct working at heights, so that's a safety aspect. The other thing that maybe a small construction companies, the residential companies do, it's tools. So that's another safety aspect. Then after that, once you have your safety aspect, you need to conduct and a hazard and risk assessment. So identify all the hazards that you're gonna be facing, performing those tasks. So so once you have that, when you conduct your hazard and risk assessment on safety aspect, so you need to compare those ones with the standards and regulations to see if your safeguards that are not they are sufficient or not, or they are in compliance. So there are different standards for each safety aspect. Something that for example, for small manufacturing companies like breweries, so something that I would create, I would introduce is something is management of change. So management of change is going to control all my new equipment additions, all my equipment changes, if something needs to be changed or modified. So what's going to be the hazards that are going to be facing with that change? And then you can add a pre-start safety review. So what aspects of the regulations I need to be in compliance? So it's like a checklist to avoid any incidents in the future. Another aspect is for these small businesses, especially for these manufacturing ones, I'm gonna conduct a process hazard analysis. So small breweries, I understand it's all mixing. There is no chemical reactions, but you are heating, you are pressurizing, and obviously you are conducting maintenance. So I want to do a hazard assessment very detailed with all the information that I have from your process to conduct these process hazard analysis. For sure, it's something that needs to be done, and I recommend that to you guys. The another aspect that I'm gonna be implementing is incident investigations. Maybe at the beginning you think that you won't have any incidents, but it's better to have that procedure in place and be trained to perform incident investigations. And it's not only that for injuries; it's for other types, like for something that I don't know, for robbery, for any of the process parameters that you have, they have been in that parameter hasn't been uh, developed very well, or something during your process went out of control. So you need to investigate the causes and the consequences of that part of that went out of control. So for sure, yeah, I will establish incident investigations. And at the end, once you have my safety aspect identified, and then all the safety aspects, I start developing programs, for example, procedures and training and coaching and inspections. So, and then I do compare with the standard regulations, and then I do management of change, and then I do process hazard analysis or hazard assessments, and I do incident investigations. For sure, I'm gonna audit the program. Now, that's the first part from implementing a safety program from scratches. You can see here, I haven't talked about policies, safety policy yet. That is the management commitment. I know, I understand that you're gonna be, once you hire a service or you want to go to that point as a business, so you are making the commitment right away there. So can be that activity can be done parallel to all of these ones. Once you have all of these, now you're gonna go to the second level. That is, now I'm gonna make sure that I'm in compliance, and then many of the companies in the industry, they go to course. They want to get the certification of recognition. So what is that? It's the certification of recognition. It's a certification that it's telling the industry you are in compliance and you have a type of safety management system. It's not really at all the management system. Why? Because like ISO 18001, there are certain elements that you need to have management. I mean, that need to have to show that you have the management system. For example, improvements, that is one of them. So each one of these ISO standards, they have a section of improvements. For core, it's a little bit the same, and actually you have elements. You have the elements of the safety commitment. So you need to have a safety policy, responsibilities for supervisors, visitors, and contractors. You need to have a hazard identification program. You need to have hazard controls. So how you're gonna control the hazards, for example, how you're gonna control the heat, how you're gonna control the pressure, how you're gonna control certain parameters on your process, for example, in the brewery, like how you're gonna control flows, you wanna avoid, for example, overflowing your tanks. That's the type of controls they are describing here, that they are asking you to describe in this part of the core. And then you have training, safety training, how you perform the safety training, and then emergency response, and then you have incident investigation that has been implemented before, and then you have communications, how you're going to communicate the safety, your safety records, etc., and then you have the safety committee meeting. So that's the elements of core, but that's the second phase that you need to go through the years, and it's very recommendable. The third phase actually that you can go and have an outstanding safety program. It's now you're going to start inserting elements such as lean manufacturing, lean safety, ISO standards if you want to export to Europe or to other countries. So those type of the standards, they come at the end. And then you're going to start adding those concepts to your existing safety program, and then you can have an outstanding safety program through the years. So actually, I'm describing right now three phases. These three phases, they need to be mature, each one of them. That's the reason why I'm saying you need to see to the long term. For the short term, actually, it's something that for the short term to be in compliance with the Minister of Labor here in Canada or OSHA in the United States, you need to perform the first phase. You need to know what you are doing. You need to perform the inventory of the safety aspect, like I said. Having these three different phases during the implementation of the safety program is going to achieve a success in the future. It's going to achieve that you're going to have not a very robust safety program that is going to be part of your business, that is going to be integrated into your business. That's the thing that many companies they have done in the past. And actually, I'm going to tell you a story. I have a client that his recordable incident rate was so high. Fortunately, the lost time incident rate was 0, but the recordable incident rate was too high. They developed a program actually for 1 year to reduce the recordable incident rate. And actually, after 2 years, they achieved 0 on RIR. And how they did it? Well, they did it in this way. They recognized that first they needed to know what they were doing, what tasks had been performed what tasks the workers are being performed. So we are in compliance or not. So they checked actually each one of those safety aspects against regulations and standards, and make some engineering modifications if necessary, many administrative controls and modifications to existing procedures. And at the end, they review their PPE. Having that part already done, when they finished, they jumped to the second one. So okay, now they were aware about the process safety management program. They have knowledge about it, and one of the things they said, well, we want to implement, or we want to insert some concepts from PSM. And they said, well, something that we need to control is what is coming to this facility. What type of modifications or new equipment is going to be introduced to manufacturing process. So they install management of change. For a small companies like any brewery or a small manufacturing or a residential construction business, management of change is going to allow you to control those ones. For example, any type of training. So if something is new, so for example, on the construction side, you are working at heights, you should be aware that the regulation of fall protection change, especially on the training side. So you can have a small management of change, saying that what's gonna be the parts of the training that they need to be that the workers need to be taken to be in compliance. For example, here in Ontario, it's 3 hours theory, 3 hours practice. So what's going to be the elements that they need to be trained on those 6 hours? And that's going to be your management of change. Also, this company, that the example that I'm talking to you, once they achieve that, I mean, inserting these these PSM elements like process hazard analysis, um, and management of change, and they changed the incident investigation as well. Now they were talking about causes and consequences, because for them those concepts they understood those concepts way better than hazard and risk, and they start introducing those to the incidents, to the hazard analysis, and actually to the incidents investigation, like such as causal factors and root cause and root causes. That's different definition of each one of them. And after that, they conduct an audit. So that's how they did it to reduce the incident rate, the recordable incident rate, to 0 in 2 years. Once they have achieved that, they say, well, we want to go to the next level to make sure that everything is in compliance, and we are doing everything more than the regulation says. So now they went to core, and now they called an external auditor, and they did this auditor conducted the audit, the core audit, and established what gaps they have and what type of achievements they have had from the first phase, and then they make an action plan to achieve core. Once they achieve core, they decided, because they said, okay, how I want to introduce now, instead of having environmental, safety, and quality all separated, how you're going to introduce. And that's when they start applying lean manufacturing to make these three areas interact together, and not seeing each one separated. That's going to cause conflict in the past. I mean, in between them. They took around 3 years, 3 or 4 years, to implement all of these. The commitment was there, but also they understood that these type of initiatives take time. That's the reason why this company solved this problem. And actually, something that I want to share with you, how to implement this safety program from the scratches. Now, this program actually needs to be implemented since the beginning of the business. One of the problems for the small companies, it's that now you guys are leaving safety to the end, and that's when it becomes a problem, because it becomes a legacy issue. So now you started producing, you started your own business, and you forgot safety, and then something happened. Now you're getting troubles. You don't need to do that. You need to consider, as part of your business plan, you need to consider safety as well. Most of the successful small businesses, especially when they have a high risk, such as a risk of falling, a risk of fire, or a risk of to have a very serious incidents, they include the safety on the business side. And the reason why is they don't want to get in troubles in the past, and they want to keep people working for them. Small entrepreneurs, actually, small own business owners, they have a very people awareness. There's something that is very surprise for me, and it's very glad and very exciting to see. Business owners, when they start creating their own companies, they have people awareness, and that's the reason why successful ones, they want to implement safety as soon as possible. And it's easier because you are initiating the business, and you don't have those legacy problems that they're going to affect you in the future. So to summarize this video, you need to separate your phases in your program in 3 steps. Number 1, it's identifying the task, conduct a hazard assessments of those tasks. See, once you identify, review safety regulations and safety standards. Introduce PSM concepts such as management change and hazard analysis, incident investigations, and then the audit. Second phase, go to core. Third phase, start introducing other concepts from ISOs or from lean manufacturing or from project management as well. That's one of the three phases of to implement a safety program for small businesses. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye.